A pleasant welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela. Well, it is no longer news that Nigeria is immensely blessed with creative minds who have consistently displayed mind-blowing innovations, inventions, and even expertise when it comes to research and development. But being able to nurture these talents, also harness these innovations, inventions towards technological advancement and global competitiveness is critical. Now, the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP, a parastatal under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, is mandated to protect and sustain indigenous competencies, build capacities, enhance financial base of the country, also promote intellectual property, technology advisory and support services, commercialization of research and development results, among others. If you recall, the Executive Order 5, which was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari on February 2nd, 2018, was premised on the need to promote Nigeria's software developers and exploit their immense talents in the ICT sector. But you ask, how has NOTAP been able to boost indigenous software development in Nigeria in line with the implementation of the Presidential Executive Order 5? What strategies has been adopted by NOTAP to put the nation on the path of viable and sustainable economic growth with rapid transformation, of course? Our focus on Platform today is promoting Nigeria's content in innovation and technology. And our guest is the Director General NOTAP, that is Dr. Deng Azumi Mohammed Ibrahim. Thank you very much for joining us on Platform.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
All right, we'll take you through a bit of his profile. Dr. Ibrahim has a bachelor's degree in agriculture, a master's degree in soil microbiology from the University of Newcastle, UK, and a PhD on soil fertility from Abuja Tafawa Balewa University. Dr. Ibrahim started his working career as a lecturer in the Faculty of Agriculture, Department of Soil Sciences at the University of Maiduguri, and later joined the Raw Materials Research and Development Council, where he rose to the rank of Deputy Director. He joined NOTAP from Raw Materials Research Development in September 2010 as Acting Director, Technology Promotion and Commercialization Department, and was elevated to the position of Director in 2014. He has undergone many capacity development programs internationally, India, China, and some other countries. Dr. Ibrahim has many scientific publications to his credit. He was a consultant to UNIDO on establishment of neem-based biopesticides in West Africa, and currently a member of international experts on the development and implementation of ECOWAS policy on science and technology. He is a founding member of the Neem Association of Nigeria and members of Soil Science Society of Nigeria and Fisheries Society of Nigeria. He was the Director of Technology, Innovation and Commercialization Department before his appointment as Acting DG and subsequently DG. His interests, special interest is in human capacity and institutional development to reduce dependency on foreign technology consumption, sports, particularly hockey, where he represented Nigeria in international competitions and won many laurels. We didn't know that part about you, that you're a sportsman. But good to know. Thank you very much once again for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have a panelist, which is a tradition of the program, from our science desk, Justin Bem Onyi, a correspondent here in NTA. Thank you very much for joining us,
Thank
Justin.
you so very much.
All right, we're glad to have you.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Ibrahim, we're looking at promoting Nigeria's content when we're talking innovations, technology for the country. If we want to see that viability, if we want to see that economy, grow, we're talking diversification and all ramifications, right? Now, what would be your assessment, for Nigeria? How well have we harnessed those talent in the country when we're talking innovations, inventions for Nigeria?
Thank you very much. You're absolutely right. Nigeria is blessed with talents. Nigerians are very intelligent. hardworking. What we only need is to see how we harness those resources for the development of our own country. And I think the foresight of our current Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Onu, to see how we harness these resources, these natural resources, is what culminated into the Executive Order 5. If you see projects holding or taking place in this country, most of the workers you see them are foreigners. We have competent people, professionals who have well-versed, well-experienced, but unfortunately, for a very long period, we have not been engaging them in executing of projects and contracts. So now the foresight of the minister saw it that for any nation to develop, you can't continuously rely on foreigners. You have to develop the necessary capacities in the country and ensure that after developing the capacities, you use those capacities for the development of the nation. So that Executive Order 5 is meant to address that. So as far as we are concerned, it's like a revolution without gun. Yes, where you have competencies within the country and you utilize them. There are so many, a lot of advantages. They will be coming up with so many ingenious innovations and invention. So long as you patronize them. Where you don't patronize them, that is when you kill the initiatives. So that Executive Order 5 is intended to involve Nigerian professionals in the executions of projects and contracts in engineering and other projects in this country.
And what will be on the lips, just before Justin comes in, what will be on the lips of, well, some Nigerians? Since 2018 it was signed into law, why wait until now before it's been implemented?
You see, the issue is the implementation cuts across so many institutions. And as far as NOTAP is concerned, the Executive Order 5, apart from our normal registration and regulating inflow of foreign technology into the country, we are given the responsibility to establish a robust database of Nigerian professionals. That is the first thing you have to do. If you want to engage Nigerians to participate in these projects, you have to know them. And the only way you know them is to have a database of these Nigerians. If you have the database of these Nigerians, as far as our registration of technology transfer is concerned, we look at it. If a technology is coming into this country, we look at the personnel that are coming in. Where we feel we have competent personnel that would handle one aspect or the other, we advise that instead of foreigners to come, why don't we use Nigerians? You cannot do that if you don't have a robust database.
Sure.
So there had not been financial provisions for that when it took off. But as far as NOTAP was concerned, we started the initial work. We went to various establishments, we went to various associations, particularly the COREN, Nigerian Society of Engineers, were able to get their members, their professionals, and we began to put it in the database manually. But now we have provisions. We have to use a Nigerian to develop a platform, an application, so that any Nigerian from any part of this world can key into NOTAP platform and register. So it's now when you have this robust database, you'll be able to authoritatively advise the government that instead of you to bring so-so and so-so into this country, we have so-so and so-so. You punch your computer, it will give you the address, the emails, and details of those professionals. So the Ministry of Internal Affairs would now begin to use the database we have in this country. Any other government prostators that is interested, so long as it is going to use the data for the overall interest of this country, is free to key in and look at the database and see where Nigerian professionals are and what they can do in their area of specialization. That is the starting point. So it was in 2021 that we got financial provisions for that. That is why now we advertise, we look for competent ICT experts in this country. They applied, we shortlisted them, we went through due process, we selected about 7 of them in the first instance. Then we have to get a panel of professionals who would now conduct a one-to-one interview with those professionals to see who is the best among them. I'm confident, I'm happy. The one that has been able to come out with the application for NOTAP is the best as far as we are concerned. And when it eventually finished and came and demonstrated the workability of that platform, of the workability of that software, everybody was impressed. I'm most particularly happy that a Nigerian was able to develop this data and this platform for us to operate. Some other international organizations were eager to come and assist us, but I become a little bit conservative. I say, no, I want Nigerians to do it.
Yes, if we have to promote our
yes,
content.
and they have done it, and I'm happy they have done it very well.
Now, as you rightly said, the Executive Order Number 5 is targeted at improving local content in not just public procurement with science, technology, and engineering components, but also it aims at getting Nigeria to self-sufficiency in no distance time. And you have rightly pointed out that you're mandated to develop a robust database, which you already started. Now, this has come on board, this is about 4 years now, the Executive Order Number 5. What has been the success story so far in the implementation of this order?
You see, it's too early to assess a program and project. But I must tell you that even before the coming of the Executive Order 5, NOTAP was conscious of all these things. Okay. If I take you to what we do, when we are registering technology transfer agreements, if today we register 10, between 7 to 8 are on software. And we see that is the area where Nigeria relies heavily on imported softwares. So as an institution, we had to sit down with relevant stakeholders. We have seen the quantum amount of money that leaves this country as a licensing fee. No any patriotic Nigerian will fold his arms and allow it business as usual. So what we had to do was to sit down with relevant stakeholders who have the same minds with us. What can we do to save our country? We came out with a policy that is local vendor policy. Local vendor policy entails to address two things.
Okay. To
develop capacities of Nigerians and to ensure that we use Nigerians in the development of our country. How does it work? Any software agreement that comes to our office, the ones that are not bought off the shelf, we ensure that for that software to be registered, there must be a Nigerian IT company involved in the deployment of that software from our side,
yes,
in the maintenance of that software from our side. So the strategy is, if you involve intelligent Nigerians in the deployment, in the maintenance of that software, you'll be able to develop indirectly the capacities of Nigeria in terms of that software operation. Sure. Even the owners of the software have no option. If they want their product to work perfectly, and since Nigerians are involved, they have no option but to train Nigerians on that software application. So it is a double-edged sword. We are insisting Nigerians are involved, and the owners of the softwares are now made to develop capacities of Nigerians in terms of using that applications. So normally, if you purchase software, it's a licensing fee. You pay once a year.
Okay.
It's a one-off, it's a one-off. But there is another caveat where Nigerians are continuously milked. How does it talk? There is what we call ATS, Annual Technical Services. After every year of operation, you pay between 12 to 23% of the licensing fee as maintenance fee. And that one will also go outside the country. So the policy now, we sat down, we agreed that if a Nigerian IT company is involved in the deployment of that software, is involved in the maintenance of that software, 40% of that ATS should be paid to the Nigerian as compensation. So that 40% before the implementation of this policy used to go outside the country. Now that 40% remains in the country and utilized by Nigerians. After about 6-7 years of operations of that policy, it was not without difficulty, because if you are trying to bring changes, there are resistance, there are blackmails, there are these things. As regulators, if you remain firm, I'm telling you, they have no option but to queue in and agree with your implementation. So in this case, since it is now fully institutionalized, that 40% is giving financial muscles to the ICT experts in Nigeria Now I'm happy to tell you, Nigerians have started exporting software across Africa. That is a strategy.
Yes, which is also very impressive to hear. Also, from what you've just explained to us, is that part of measures to commercialize local content?
Yeah.
Is that part of it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so what's the response like from these professionals, these experts that we have in Nigeria?
You see, they are encouraged.
Okay.
You see, I told you, Nigerians are talented. What they need encouragement from the government to see how now we channel their competencies towards the development. There are some of the softwares that come into this country. They use Nigerians to customize them. You understand?
Yes.
Because they don't know the operations of most of the platforms in this country. So they use Nigerians. So if they would use Nigerians, that means Nigerians are good. If Nigerians are good, how do we encourage them to do better? Is to patronize them. That is why when we are transforming our technology transfer registration exercise, we wanted to digitalize it. Okay. We use a Nigerian IT company to develop the software for us, and it is working perfectly well. So that encourages us now.
Is there a rapid response to that? Are people, logging into the portal
of course,
update?
They are. You see, the issue is a policy maker, you just need to be firm. Once you are firmed and you don't shake, no matter the provocation, no matter the blackmail, you are focused. And at the end of it, now that local vendor policy is fully entrenched. And I'm telling you, the professionals are happy. Some of them who are getting 40%. If you see, there was a company, I wouldn't want to mention the name of the company, that purchased a software worth $23 million. If you take 10% of that, is between $200 and $2.3 million. That one is going into the Nigerian IT companies' coffers. So with this, they've been able to develop infrastructures. They've been able to develop capacities of young, talented Nigerians. That is why now they have come up with applications, and they are even exporting applications across Africa. That is the sustainability of the system.
Talking about technology transfer, as you just mentioned, do we have particular arrangement when it comes to foreign technology agreements in that regards about technology transfer? Because we definitely wouldn't have it all when it comes to capacity here. We definitely have some import of some technologies or capacities. So what arrangements or agreements do you have on ground?
You see, for us to develop as a nation, we don't have all the competencies. We don't have all the know-how. What we have to do is to allow those know-hows we don't have to come into the country. But before they come, it's naturally you develop your magnet, the human capacities, that when eventually the technology comes in, you'll be able to absorb it, domesticate it, and eventually becomes a Nigerian technology.
Sure.
So any technology that comes in, we look at the complexity of the technology. If the technology is readily available in the country, we don't register it. We only register technologies that we know would add value to the system. So the issue is any agreement that comes in, we have to subject that agreement into evaluation under three major perspectives. Okay. The legal perspective, the economic perspective, but more importantly, the technical perspective. Under the legal perspective, we look at the clauses. Are they all in tandem with the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Where they are not in tandem, we advise you either modify them or totally expunge them. The economic perspective, yes, whoever renders services to you have to pay. And since you are engaging the services of a technical partner from outside, you have to use your scarce foreign exchange to pay. So we look at the complexity and the amount of money the Nigerian is going to pay for that. Where we feel Nigeria is shortchanged, we are advised, because we work strictly under the guidelines of the CBN. The most important perspective is the technical perspective.
So what is the legal implication of that aspect under the technology transfer agreement?
Yeah. Let me conclude.
Okay.
For the technical perspective, which I say is the most important as far as our strategy to develop as a nation, is the technical perspective. We had to go outside to bring in technology because that technology doesn't exist in our own country or it's not readily available. So we insist that within the clauses of those agreements, there must be area of capacity building, so that any technology that is coming into the country, Nigerians must be trained as part of the agreement. So if you train Nigerians, we are very fast in catching up. Yes. We are very fast. Exactly. So you are exposing Nigerians onto those technologies. I'm telling you, when we register, we go and monitor the companies. And I'm glad to say Nigerians are taking over from the foreigners. And in some of the companies, they are even proudly telling me that they are sending Nigerians to provide services on behalf of their companies in other countries. So that capacity is key. And the arrangement is, once the capacities are built, it is now the policy that will drive the development of the system.
Doctor, you know, there are two sides to a coin. That's the positive angle you're telling us now. For the non-registration of people who want to come under the TTA, what is the implication? Because you wouldn't say you've not seen cases of such.
You see, our law is a little bit silent on penalties. It's not too stiff. So there are still, the law allows that any technology coming into the country, within 1 month of signing of that agreement, it must be registered in the country, in NOTAP. And it's when we register, we issue a certificate, and it's one of the documents a Nigerian would take to the bank to pay his technical partner outside the country. But there are other sectors that don't even come to us, and we have no teeth based on our own edict to take them to court.
Why?
So that is now the need for us to change the edict to because things are dynamic. Modify it. Okay. Things are dynamic. Particularly the oil companies, they don't come to NOTAP. They don't come to NOTAP because they have their escrow accounts. They can pay their technical partner from their escrow accounts, so they wouldn't need our certificate. But even though the law has mandated us that they must have to come and register.
Is NOTAP doing anything in that regard?
Yeah, we are working hard to see how now we modify some of the clauses in NOTAP edict, but it's not something that you can do overnight. And mind you, see, for any policy you want to implement, there are people who will not be comfortable with it. Sure. And some of them are heavyweights. They can crush you if you are not this. So these are some of the issues. They could frustrate issues, but once you remain firm and you are not greedy, I'm telling you, the journey can be smooth.
Let's come home. You know, we're talking about promoting Nigeria's local content here, and she mentioned earlier about commercialization, the efforts to commercialize this research and development. We have little startups here and there. There's some little entrepreneurs or researchers up and there. Now, when we talk about commercialization, I believe there should be that linkage of this little startup with maybe industries that we have locally here. Yes. Do we have any policy in that regards to link? Because most of them, they are there, they have these research findings, but they don't know who to promote these research findings for them.
Sure.
Yeah, you are an experienced journalist in science and tech, and you know the issue. You see, commercialization of any research and development is not as easy as you think of. Even in the developed countries, maybe 10% or less than 10%. For us here in this country, unfortunately, the researchers are looking at one side, the industries are looking at another side. If you take the census of the big industries, 98% are foreign-based, and their interests, I must say, this is my own opinion, is for them to come do business in your country, make money and repatriate them. Their interest is not to develop your country. So it's for us as regulators to see how now we can strike a balance, to see how Nigeria get the best out of the relationship. So because we regulate inflow, they come to us to register agreements, and we have close contacts with the institutions, with the universities, with the research establishment. So now we have stood up at a midpoint to see how now we synergized partnership between the industry and the academia. That is what would ensure Nigerian R&D results are translated into product and services because it's a commercial venture, it's a private sector. We came out with a program. We realized that the multinationals undertake 100% of their R&D outside the country. We have competent people, professionals, professors in the universities, but they are not using them. So we say, look, if you want us to give you approval to pay your technical partner on research and development, you must have to commit certain percentage of your research and development in this country. It's like a carrot and stick approach.
Yes.
So how does it work? Give us the topics where you feel Nigerians can undertake that credible research and development for you. We'll look for the professionals to do it for you. So they gave us a topic. We kickstarted NOTAP Industry Technology Transfer Fellowship in 2016 when we took over. The idea is they give us the areas of their research and development. We advertised and Nigerians applied. We shortlisted, we interview them along with the companies. And successful candidates now are under the scholarship of the industries. The issue is trying to bring the industry and the academia together. And the research and development of that candidate is based on the operations of that industry. So it's like once it is concluded, it's ready for commercialization. So we started in 2016 with only 6 companies sponsoring 6 candidates. I'm happy to say out of the first set of 6, 3 have already graduated. One that graduated from University of Nigeria came out with an excellent winning feed formulation, which Nestle Nigeria Limited sponsored. And Nestle is looking at it, the possibility of establishing a production line on that. So now you see academia and industry are coming together. So following the success of the first one, we advertise again. We have additional 10 sponsored by the companies. After that, we had additional 7. Now we have over 23 candidate sponsors by the industries. So unless you begin to bring the private sector and the researchers together, you will not see commercialization take place, and it's a private sector. There is also one missing link, which NOTAP realized is a gap. It's not our mandate, but we have seen a very important gap which must be filled. Yes, researchers would take their time and they take research for 4 or 5 years and come out with innovations that have potential to translate into product and services. But they are in a hurry to publish. Once you publish your research and development findings, you have exposed it to the public.
Without patent right.
Without protecting it.
Yes.
So you have exposed it. Anybody can make money, can take it and makes money out of it. So when we see this gap, now we started working with all intellectual property organizations to establish what we call intellectual property and technology transfer offices across the universities, across the research establishment, across the polytechnics. So this now highlighted or enlightened the universities community, the research community. Now requests for patenting started coming. I must say by 2019, 65% of the patent certificate released by the patent registry came through NOTAP, and we do it free of charge. This is to encourage Nigerians to patent their technology. And it's only when you patent it, a private sector will come and put his own or her own money. Where the intellectual asset is not protected, nobody will put his own.
Dr. Ibrahim, let me just hold your thoughts there. If I understand correctly from where Justin is coming from, there are a lot of startups. Yeah. Right?
Exactly.
There are a lot of startups. Now, is there provision by NOTAP, based on this new database portal that has been created? Is there a provision for startups like that? And is there that awareness of patent rights, especially for this startup, so they don't get their, what do they call it now?
Research findings on the shelf.
Yes. And because NOTAP, is responsible to protect and sustain indigenous capacities for Nigerians.
And technically speaking, it's not our mandate, but we saw a gap. And we felt nobody was filling the gap, and it is absolutely necessary for that gap to be filled before we moved. So there are other institutions, other agencies who are responsible for this to happen. There are startups. NIDA is working hard to improve on the performances of this startup. And they are coming up very well. I'm happy to tell you it's a Nigerian who developed Paystack platform. And unfortunately, he couldn't get an investor in this country, and somebody from US came and bought it $200 million. You can see. We are talented. You see, once the agencies are working together, trying to see how we bring these startups up, they are coming up. I'm telling you, give us 5-6 years, you'll see what Nigeria will do in ICT. Now ICT is contributing over 17% of the GDP. It was not like this before. And talented young Nigerians are coming up. So it's a matter of time. It's for us to see how we channel. The role of NOTAP is promotional. National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion. So whatever is generated within the system, we promote. Where we feel there is the need for us to link those startups to the relevant industries, we do.
Okay.
And I must say that even though the phase is slow, but we are making impact, we are making progress. I could remember when we had so many flagship projects when we took over. We selected 45 of those flagship projects, and we went to meet with the Bank of Industry to see how they would be able to provide some kind of funding for them to move them to the next level. Now when we sat down, we pruned them from 45 to 6. And I'm happy to say one of the 6 now has started accessing grant from Bank of Industry, even though they don't have a window. Technically, they don't have a window for that. But once they see the needs, they see the potentials, now they have started creating windows for some of them to leverage on their services and move to the next level.
You're talking about leveraging here. I think there should be a connection. We're talking about these startups who may not be that experienced in this entrepreneurship, but there are other big weights that are entrepreneurs. You know, is there this kind of connection? Maybe talking about franchising. I don't know, anything in that nature?
You see, we are growing. We don't expect a perfect system overnight. As told you, NIDA is doing its best. Smeden is doing its best. For us, if we find a potential that has relevance to a particular industry, we now form a linkage. We draw the attention of the industry. I could remember when we are studying one of the files before I gave approval, and I saw a company, I will not want to mention the name of the company, is importing calcium carbonate from as far as China, while we have several deposits of calcium carbonate in this country. So we look at it, I couldn't believe it. We had to invite the MD of that company for a meeting. Why must you have to go as far as China to import calcium carbonate? What's wrong with Nigerian calcium carbonate? And there are industries, small industries, producing calcium carbonate in this country. See, Nigerian calcium carbonate has a lot of quartz, that means silica, and it's affecting their machinery. Then I say, look, it's an opportunity. Yes. You either now commission Nigerian researchers to undertake research that will remove the silica from the Nigerian calcium carbonate, or bring in a technology that will refine Nigerian calcium carbonate to meet your specifications. And I'm saying, because since we give the approval for 3 years, after 3 years we review whether there is the need for us to renew or not. We say, if you are coming for renewal in the next cycle and you don't do anything, I'm afraid we will not give you approval. That language worked. Within a year and a half, the MD of that company called me and said, yes, they may even to bring a technology and are working with a small company in Nigeria, and now the company is providing them with the requirements of the calcium carbonate they needed for their manufacturing. But more importantly, the technology of refining Nigerian calcium carbonate is now fully domesticated. So that is a development. So what is important is when we identify talents like this, as regulators who have the listening ears of the private sector, we try to link them with the private sector. Some of the industries, when we come, they say, well, we don't know what the researchers are doing. So now by the time this database is in place, most of the R&D results are also going to be in the platform, so that the manufacturers, the private sector, will have access to it. And if they need further information, they could use us, and we can make the linkage to ensure that the interest of Nigerian is protected.
And not too long, NOTAP took a step, to strengthen machineries towards the implementation of NOTAP Industry Technology Transfer Fellowship Scheme. How effective has that been?
Yes. You see, when it started, the private sector was a little bit reluctant, maybe because of their previous experiences. And they thought maybe we are just after the money. We say no. What we want is to establish a linkage between you and the industry and the academia. So I told you we started with only 6. Then the second segment, when it came, we had additional 10. Then we had additional 7. So what is important is, if a researcher is able to undertake a research for the industry, you have given him or her an entirely different exposure. The way he would now begin to look at research and development would be different from the way he used to look at it.
Yes.
In my own opinion, what is currently happening is a mere academic exercise. You publish, you get you research, you publish, you get promoted. If you look at the quantum number of research papers published by Nigerians at both national and international levels, we are among the highest in Africa. But that doesn't translate into any economic value to us.
Because I was just going to ask, why so much interest? Yes, without research and development, we're not going anywhere.
No.
But there are also other aspects of technology that could be looked into.
Okay, like, what do you want?
Innovations, inventions.
You see, innovation is, you are not reinventing the wheel. You are leveraging on existing knowledge to add 1 or 2 things. Let me just say, give a small example. The person that first of all came with a pencil, the pencil we used to use when we were in primary school had no eraser at the end. So now somebody now thought, yes, if you make a mistake, you needed to take an eraser, clean it up. Now
which is an advancement.
Now somebody came with a thinking, now why don't I just stick an eraser at the other tail end of the razor? That is an innovation.
Yes.
So in innovation, if you make an innovation, you can claim, but you have to make reference to the initial technology developed by people. So innovation, and for you to innovate, you have to be well educated. Yes. You have to understand the workabilities of that technology itself. So I tell you, Nigerians are very intelligent. During the COVID era, you have seen ingenuity come out from Nigerians. So necessity is the mother of invention. What we have to do is, we have to encourage, continuously develop capacities, but more importantly, come with a stringent policy that would encourage Nigerians to patronize what is made in Nigeria. That would discourage the patronage of imported goods and services. We cannot say don't buy foreign goods and services. Let's put a very heavy tariff on anything that is imported. But we have alternatives that is working in the country. So it's for us to ensure that we standardize what we produce in this country and we are enjoying the services. It's like the rice revolution. When this government came, more than 90% of the rice we consume were imported. But when we took a step and said no more, we have to change the narrative. And we did. The borders were closed. Our neighbors were complaining. And we kept deep ears because we know where we are going. If we had allowed it, the initiative of local rice production wouldn't have been a reality.
Sure.
Some of the industries that used to export rice into our country had to collapse in other countries. And some of them now manage to come into the country and establish milling plants. That is a development. So it's for us to come with a policy and become strict on the implementation of that policy. That is now when we begin to see the product of our research and development translating into realities.
Now, when we talk about innovation, we know that technology and innovation is the basis of development for any nation. When we talk about all the giant nations, most of them, all of them, not most of them, all of them have a very staunch basis in innovation and technology. Now, when you come to Africa, maybe Nigeria, a basic bane of developing these technologies is funding. Yes.
Sure.
The good news is just recently the federal government increased what we had, the chunk of what we had, we increased it to 0.5% for the funding of technologies in Nigeria. But that is still You agree with me that that is still not enough. It's far from what should be done.
Yeah.
In your own opinion, how do we really get to where we want when it comes to funding?
Yes. You see, if you are in government, you'll be able to understand the pressure under which the government operates. Like any other sector, the educational sector, I must confess, is not well funded. Funding is key. But even if the funding is weak, there are alternatives. The private sectors who are operating in this country have responsibility as part of their corporate social responsibilities. If you look at the advanced world, there is a strong synergy, strong bond between the academia and the industry. Most of the research and development are sponsored by the industries. So there is seamless transfer of technology from the research establishments to the companies. What is common there is the industries are theirs, the institutions are theirs, you understand?
Yes.
So there is seamless transfer of technology. But here, as I had said earlier, more than 98% of the major companies are foreign-based. And their interest, you understand, I said it and I have no apology saying it, is to come, invest, make money, and repatriate their money. So it's for us to be strategic as far as our development is concerned, to see how we can get a very good relationship, a mutual relationship between the two. So the private sectors now have started seeing, like Dangote. Dangote is one private sector that he cares for this country. And if other multinationals that had been in this country had done the same thing Dangote had done, would have been somewhere else, not this way. Take one major project, the oil refinery Dangote is. Before the oil refinery, cement. Before we used to import cement into this country. But now, with the coming of Dangote, Bua and others, we are even exporting cement outside the country. That is a plus. Now, the industry, the refinery that is coming up, hopefully, within this year or next year, will be able to now impact positively to the economy. If you know how much we subsidize for the importation of petroleum, by the time that industry is on stream, we will save this amount of money. But more importantly, we are also exporting. We will also be exporting refined products outside the country. So foreign exchange will begin to come in. And pressure on our naira will reduce. So if all other companies are going to be as patriotic as Nigerian companies, you understand, then we will move. But I'm quite hopeful. There are companies, Nigerian companies, that are coming up. And their concern is not only to make money, but to also develop the nation.
Dr. Ibrahim, I know there's a whole lot in terms of the vision you're seeing when it comes to promoting the local content for Nigeria. If we're looking at research, development results and innovations, but NOTAP also has a role to play. I'm not saying you're not doing your part, but are there strategies, other means of strategies you're adopting? Now, some of these professionals and Nigerians, not that they don't want to get established and be recognized, which is a step taken in the right direction, talking about the database and the portal being created. What about other strategies as a way of helping them being recognized and appreciated here in their own country?
You see, my dear sister, it's not just appreciation. What is important is to use their competencies for the development of the countries. Even if you come, we appreciate you, we give you a plug and a certificate on it. Doesn't mean it. What is important is how we begin to remove the shackles of dependency on imported goods and services. That is what we catapult Nigeria into economic prosperity. So what we do is, where we feel we have competent Nigerians, that is why I'm also giving kudos to the current Minister of Transport, Amici. He has a very good foresight. You see, very soon Nigeria will have networks of railways. This is a virgin area where we don't have so much capacities. So for that foresight, we are now establishing a university to develop the needed capacities.
Yes.
So we are thinking in terms of future, not just immediate this thing. In terms of future, you develop capacities. And for any company that is coming to do the railways, is one of the directives that some of the components must be manufactured here in the country. So very soon Nigerians will begin to manufacture some of them. So by the time you begin to manufacture, bring in the components that you have no capacity to manufacture, you bring them into the country. Gradually, even those ones that are imported, because Nigerians are very, very intelligent, ingenuity in Nigerians. You go to outside the country, you see excelling very well. So we can also do it here in this country. What we only need is a platform, maybe an environment that would encourage and insist on this. And we need people who have foresight. We need people who look at the future in the next 10 years. Where do you want to be? And we ensure that we reach there. We have no business importing petroleum product into this country. We had been refining petroleum products for a very long period of time. By now, that technology should have been fully domesticated.
Exactly.
So if we have leaders who have foresight, before you establish the NPC, the refineries, you have developed all the necessary capacities. And where you don't have the capacities, you send them abroad to be trained. When they come back, they use the knowledge to expand. I'm telling you, there is one instance I must comment. One of the Nigerians who studied in Russia, he read chemical engineering, Professor Davo in ABU's area. He worked in one of the refineries in Russia. By the time he came back to this country, he was loaded with technology to refine petroleum product. He came to ABU. Now he has established a refinery, a mini refinery that refines about 1,000 liters in a day. So you see, if you expose Nigerians, you give them the training, they come back, they can translate it. So now these modular refineries, they can be replicated. The experts are there. So we just need to encourage them as a policy, and we ensure that we strengthen the policy, and we ensure that we encourage Nigerians to also patronize what is made in Nigerians.
Indeed. Just
a quick one here. We're talking about the future. If we talk about the future, promoting Nigeria's local content, and we're looking at the future, we would definitely not forget about the young ones. We're talking about maybe the ones in the primary school, the ones in the nursery schools. I know you have something called technology storyboard initiative and all that. How do you have them in mind when it comes to exposing them to develop technologies?
So it's part of the partnership with the industry.
Okay.
The way you put it is like, you know Maggie, but you don't know how Maggie is manufactured.
You pay for that commercial.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So if I asked from what ingredients do we make Maggie, many people don't know. Over 70% of Maggi. Over 70% of Maggi.
Can we leave the Maggi out of it and call seasoning?
Seasoning.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So we partner with the industry because we want to inculcate into the younger generations process technology. As part of the project we promote with the private sector, give us pictorial presentation of your production line, flow chart process.
Yes.
From raw materials to the final product. We come with like a posters, and we develop about 38 or 43 of them, and we are distributing it to the primary and secondary school free of charge. We launch them at the various zones, and we encourage the state governments, if they want, we can give them the soft copy to produce more for the kids. So the idea is, if you paste these things, the process technology, under the corridors of the primary school or secondary school, the younger ones are very inquisitive. They begin to look at it, and they may even think of modifying one or two things. That is now when we begin to inculcate the process technology into the younger generation. God knows, by the time they grow to a certain level, they may come up with a better technology than what is in existence.
And we know that initiative started in the Northeast, precisely Gombe. Are you looking at expanding it very briefly?
It started actually here in Abuja.
Okay.
Then we went to Katsina, we did it. We went to Anambra, we did it.
Okay.
So we'll do it in all these zones. Then the last one we did was in Gombe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so on a final note, what is the vision? I know you've shared a lot from that angle, but what would you tell Nigerians in terms of preserving and promoting our local content when it comes to innovations, when it comes to research and development? What is the future for Nigeria?
You see, for us to move as a nation, we have no option but to improve on the funding of research and development. What demarcates between developed and developing nations are their ability or the vibrancy of their research and development area. So if you improve on the funding of research and development, Nigerians are talented.
Yes.
They are talented. More technologies will be coming of indigenous one. Then we have to have a policy that would encourage Nigerians to make use of what is produced locally and come out with a heavy tariff against imported goods and services. And a final note, we are Nigerians, and every Nigerian has responsibility to ensure the development of our country. We should not expect somebody from outside the country to come and develop our nation. That securely rests on our necks. We have responsibility for our nation. You play your part, he plays his part, I play my part. Collectively, we should move our nation forward.
Of course, a collective responsibility indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Dan Azumi Mohammed Ibrahim. Thank you for your time on
Thank
platform.
you very much. You're welcome.
All right. Justin Bem, thank you very much for your input on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's platform. Wow. We have been talking about promoting Nigeria's content when it comes to innovations and technology. There's a whole lot, and we need that paradigm shift. And one way we can achieve that is by owning ours, promoting what we grow and what we own. I'm Ruth Aguele. That's platform. Bye.